Music YouTuber Adam Neely has a video where he analyzes a saxophone solo that has been repeatedly mocked and maligned online. I think that educators have something to learn from this video, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. The lesson: you can learn a lot from bad things. Hi, I'm David. I teach English literature and make videos about literature, education, YouTube, and where these meet. Adam Neely is a jazz bassist and content creator. He makes educational videos, video essays you could call them, about music. He gives musical theory insight in a way that is relatively accessible to people who, like me, do not have a formal music education. He often addresses issues in the news like lawsuits about plagiarism and internet musical memes, as is the case in the video I'm going to discuss today. His most popular videos have millions of views. Neely opens with the hook. There's this saxophone solo that people on Twitter have recurrently been making fun of. It's a solo that's part of an alternate take of the Jones Girl by the Five Satins, a doo-wop group most famous for In the Still of the Night. Vinny Masetta is the guest saxophone player who created this epically bad solo. Neely confesses his own fascination with that bad solo, making the matter personal. Neely goes on to cite in an intentionally annoying voice, a kind of Ben Shapiro impression, tweets that mock the solo, mostly for only containing one note. He then shows us why that's not a convincing explanation for the badness. Neely goes into the history of one-note saxophone playing and then expands to the other forms of using just one note in musical composition and performance. In one of my favorite parts of the video, he shows all the things that you can do with one note on the bass.
Short, or I could play it long. I could play it loud, I could play it medium, I could play it soft, I could play it as a harmonic, I could pop it, I could slap it, I could put horizontal vibrato on the note, I could put vertical vibrato on the note, I could put a lot of vertical vibrato on the note, I could bend up to the note, I could bend down to the note, play the note towards the bridge, play the note towards the neck, I could play it with my fingernail, I could palm mute it with my right hand, could mute it with my left hand, I could tap it here, I could tap it here.
So we actually learned something new about music, something new and valuable, that even a one-note composition can have near endless variations. Specifically, we are made to understand that the idea that the solo is bad just because it only has one note is simplistic. The idea that being one note is one note is one note. People who condemned the piece are not thinking critically about music or their own tweets. Yes, I'm shocked that people are not thinking critically about their tweets. Neely teaches us that even badness is nuanced. In Neely's analysis, the badness of the solo comes from another source. Playing with only one note can have a variety of meanings in different types of music. In the traditional relevant here, playing one-note solos projects confidence and brashness.
Music theory without some kind of cultural or historical context just won't cut it. Yeah, we can say that the alternative take of the Jones Girl solo uses one note, but we have to dig a little bit deeper on what that one note means in context. In this case, it attempted to use a stylistic language that is altogether brash and arrogant. And it wasn't. Vinny Masetta wasn't. He wasn't up to the challenge of speaking this language of arrogance with any degree of confidence, and so his solo comes across sounding weak and impotent.
Mazetta's lack of confidence and lack of skill and lack of brashness sends the opposite message than what the solo is trying to convey, making it fail completely. So what is the lesson for teachers, lecturers, and other educational video creators from Neely's video? I think that as educators, we often want to expose our students or audience to the best things. At least in my field of literary studies, it is almost always true. I choose very good poems, very good stories, very good novels to discuss. If I think that a poem is bad, I won't include it in my lessons or videos. We have very limited time with our students and want them to be exposed to some of the great things from our field. We also want to enjoy the prep for the class, right? Nobody wants to read a bad poem again and again. And we want to enjoy the discussion in class. We expect richer discussion when we're discussing better poems. Also, it's largely the way we've been taught. My own professors almost always assign us just texts that they thought were actually good. Even if I teach a text that I don't think is wonderful, I will rarely put its badness in the center of my discussion. For instance, I have a lesson about national anthems. Those aren't the best literary text, but I focus on their ideological content rather than what makes them mediocre poems. There's a certain meanness about dissecting badness that does not align with the persona most modern educators want to project. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. In literature and areas like it, the idea is usually that you present aesthetically pleasing text. But even when I taught reading comprehension, I tried to pick texts that I found generally well written and entertaining. This may have hurt my students because the text on the exams, which I didn't choose, were often badly written and boring. So the good texts were kind of a bad preparation for the exam. In addition, many of the articles that my students will be reading as professional people are also going to be mediocre. So what they really needed is preparation for comprehending mediocre texts, not good ones. But I picked more or less good ones because that's what teachers do. I wonder if teachers in other fields have different perceptions than mine. I must imagine that a science educator will often prefer to share a well-designed research project or experiment, just like I prefer beautiful poems. Let me know if you have other experiences in the comments. Neely's video essay is a powerful reminder that there's value in teaching badness. Why? Badness is a good hook. In other words, finding something bad and figuring out what made it so bad is a great way to light up curiosity. Out of this curiosity, you can teach all kinds of things that are not directly connected to badness. In addition, badness can be great for fostering critical thinking and confidence in critical thinking. First, making students realize that not each and every text or each and everything that is put before them is automatically good. Second, you can question explanations for badness as a way to practice critical thinking skills. Neely taking down the one-note explanation is a great example of that. Badness can open students' eyes to things that are difficult to see when everything's going well. For example, in a lot of poetry, when rhyming works, you don't really notice the rhyming. In the same way, the bad solo really gives one new appreciation of one-note solos that are not bad, that are kind of good actually. Finally, that badly done things are also nuanced is a very powerful lesson in and of itself. It shows students that everything might be worth learning from, that anything is worth questioning and discussing. Nothing should be automatically dismissed, and certainly nothing should be automatically laughed at. And one last tip before I close: if you don't want to be mean when speaking of a real person, you can write or create something bad on purpose and work with that. For instance, write a poem with lots of cliches in it and ask students to identify the cliches. Then ask students to write their own bad poem. That way you don't really have to be mean about a real person. Today you can ask ChatGPT to write a poem. Don't worry, there's going to be something bad about it to criticize and learn from. To sum up, Neely's deep dive into the comically badly done sax solo inspires me to think about how to incorporate the examination of badness into my teaching and content creation. Maybe it can inspire you to do the same, each in your own field of expertise. Let me know what you think I got right and what do you think I got wrong. Let me know if you have any questions. If you have ideas about teaching the bad, share in the comments. As usual, if you think I made something simple more complicated, that's fine. Sometimes that's my job too. Thank you for listening.